150 days, 150 Psalms, one verse from each Psalm daily. Welcome to the place where you learn the Bible. Hope you're all doing well. Greetings. Even today, we'll be looking at Psalm 115. Psalm 115. This is a confession. This is a psalm a confession that we can make every day, because that is the confession word even today that I want to talk about. Psalm 115 and verse 1. Verse 1, a confession that we can make every day. Not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to your name give glory. Not to us, O Lord, not to us. In Tamil, it's beautiful. Engalukalla kartave, engalukalla. Not for us, not to us, but for your name's sake, for your name's sake. Dearly beloved, we live in a world where people are trying to seek glory for themselves. Everybody want to have their own piece of glory, want to have their own piece of monuments. But it is in this context the psalmist says, not to us, O Lord, not to us. The message says, not for our sake, not for our sake, but for your name's sake, but for your name's sake. I like this contemporary English version. That version particularly says, we don't deserve praise. We don't deserve praise. The Lord alone deserves his praise. The Lord alone deserves his praise. Not for our glory, not for our name, not for our praise, but for your name. In John chapter 3 and verse 30, John the Baptist, he says like this, he must increase and I must decrease. He must increase and I must decrease. Let us read that particular verse from John chapter 3 and verse 30. He says, he must increase, but I must decrease. And then in verse 31, he says, he who comes from above is above all. He who comes from above is above all. And that is why John says, he must increase and I must decrease. And in verse 29 of that same John chapter 3, he says, he who as the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom stands and hears him. The bridegroom's friend of the bridegroom can never become the bridegroom. He is just a friend. Here, John the Baptist portrays himself as a friend of the bridegroom and portrays Jesus as the groom himself. And he says, the groom must increase. The Lord of heaven and earth must increase and I must decrease. Because he who comes from above is above all. It is in this context I want to talk to you about this verse. Not to us, O Lord, not to us, but for your own name's sake, but for your own glory's sake. For your own praise, Lord. Not to us, O Lord, not to us. Today, we need to be very careful in not touching the glory of God, in not touching the praise of God. We know the story of Uzzah. When he tried to touch the ark of the Lord, God hit him. When people try to touch the glory of God, he is a very jealous God. He will not share his glory with anybody else. He will not share his praise with anybody else. And today, we need to know this. And that is the first point that I want to tell you. Never touch God's glory. Never seek for God's praise. Of course, God should praise us, but we should not divert men praising God to make them praise us. The first point is glory, honor, power, praise belongs to God alone. Number two, we should know we can make this as a prayer. Lord, not to us, O Lord, not to us, but for your name's sake. Do this for your name's sake. Look at Psalm chapter 23 and verse 3. He guides me for his name's sake. Lord, you guide us for your name's sake, O Lord. You guard us for your name's sake, O Lord. You lead us for your name's sake. Psalm 109 and verse 21. Again it says in those same lines. For your name's sake, for your name's sake. But look at Psalm 109:21. But you, O Lord, deal kindly with me for your name's sake. Today, when we go through some tough situations, this is a prayer that we all can make. Lord, lead us, guide us, not for our sake, but for your name's sake. Because I am known by your name. When we are known by God's name, we can boldly ask this prayer, Lord, lead us for your name's sake. Every time when Israel sinned, God was so angry with Israel that he said to Moses that he will destroy them. What do you think Moses did? He went back to God and he told God, Lord, no, Lord, they are your children. You delivered them out of Egypt. Now rescue them for your name's sake. For your name's sake. Dearly beloved, even today I have shared with you 2 points. Number one, not for our sake. Don't touch God's glory. Don't touch God's praise. Let it belong to Him. Because He is worthy of it. One who comes from above is above all. He must increase. I must decrease. Number two, when you face tough situations, go go to the presence of God. Go boldly to the throne of grace and ask God, Lord, do it not for my sake, Lord, but for your own sake. Not to us, O Lord, but for your glory, but for your glory. And I promise you, when we do that, God is faithful enough to guide us. Stay blessed in Jesus' name. Amen.